Okay, we're going to finish with this. We're going to finish with Abe Lincoln. This has seemingly been the theme of the conference. One of the citizens came up to me. He said, "I just feel something really good in here," kind of like what Rick Dalton was just saying. I just feel something really good in here. In our first conference in 2012, I literally bumped into somebody in my elbow and shoulder right here, and I turned and no one was there. And I really, honestly, I'm telling you, I felt it was one of the founding fathers. I felt that in my heart. We're talking about feeling, and and other people told me the same thing. And I came close to feeling that today, just the feeling in this room. And I have said that when we were getting ready for this and the radio shows I was on about trying to raise money for this event and trying to get people excited about this and trying to get their sheriffs here, I probably did 25 radio shows nationwide. And I really felt like saying this, and I said it. I felt that this was the most important meeting we've had in America since the Constitutional Convention of 1787. And because I really feel this is such a crucial time for America. And you're the ones to go back to the states and your counties and to your people. And you're going to be the ones working this miracle. And there really has been miracles about having this meeting. Sheriff Vaughn can tell you how many times it got postponed. We first tried this in February. We started talking about this meeting in February. And then it got postponed to March, and then it got postponed to July. And then we acted, I didn't think it was ever going to happen. And then Sheriff Vaughn called me and said, "How's September 30th for you?" And here we are. But really, if we're going to restore America, it's going to be because not you were at this meeting, but because what you do after it. And if this is true, if what he said is true, we the people are the rightful masters of both Congress and the courts. They answer to us, not to overthrow the Constitution, but to overthrow the man who would pervert the Constitution. That's where we are today. And Sheriff Vaughn, I thank you so much for being a part of this miracle. But of course, America was a miracle. We had no business winning the Revolutionary War. And if you look at how many battles were so vital that if we don't win this battle, it's all over. It happened every year all the way through. Probably the first one, maybe it's the second one, the Battle of Trenton. Do you know how miraculous that battle was? Here, Washington crossing the Delaware, running away from the British and going into Valley Forge because his army was so nothing. What's the correct word? Emancipated? No, emaciated. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if they weren't, it was the D problem. If they weren't dying of dysentery, they were all deserting. And they have any of you ever heard of fire cakes? You might want to fix yourself one. I've had one before, but they actually cooked it where it was hard. But these men had fire cakes. That's all that is water and flour. That's it. No wonder they had dysentery. And my friends, they were there. Some of the wives had followed. Martha Washington followed them to Valley Forge, trying to sew clothes for, 1,500 ragtag soldiers? You know, it didn't do much good. And most of them had no boots at all. And one of the captains put in his journal, some of the men were naked in every sense of the word. And they had taken the last rags off of them. This is December. In a horrible, horrible weather. Some of the worst blizzards ever that they had ever seen. And so they had taken off the rags and put them on their feet. And when they walked back, well, first, who did he bring in to inspire the man but Thomas Paine and his common sense? These are times that try man's souls. The summer soldier and sunshine patriot will, in the time of crisis, shrink from the fight. We cannot shrink from the fight. And we must be willing to risk our next election. It's worth it. Freedom and liberty are worth it. Do your duty and leave the rest to Him. So that's what Washington did. He put everything on the line. He had the man read the pamphlet from Thomas Paine. They were so inspired by it when Washington asked him to go back across the Delaware in this horrible weather into Trenton, where they had to walk 20 miles in the ice and snow. And they called it blood prints in the snow. And they went in because they had the faith, and that's probably where you got the painting of Washington praying next to his horse. And they went back in, and they went into Trenton and surprised the Hessians, the German mercenaries, and the redcoats that were there. And the rumor was that it was because it was Christmas that they had been drinking quite a bit, and they weren't ready to fight, and they took them. And then they had what? The best Christmas they'd ever had, because they took all the food from the Hessians, all the leftover Christmas food and meat, and then they got boots and clothes and everything from them, because they followed General Washington, who followed God. Amen. And you know how many times Washington was pierced with a bullet? Never. And during the French and Indian War, the Indian chief Red Hawk said, "He has the Great Spirit. We're not going to shoot at him anymore." Because they specifically targeted Washington. This was a man of God. This was a true leader. Without Washington, you can forget that there ever was a United States of America. And without the French, there's no United States of America. We don't win that war. It was truly miraculous. Do you want another miracle? The creation of the Constitution. What an absolute miracle, and how inspired they were to develop this document that we today summarily ignore and trample. Thank you, Pastor Whitney, for bringing us back home to the sacredness of our oath of office. And thank you, Pastor Ernie and Dr. Jackson. How powerful this was to be with all of you. Here's the truth. Take the truth back to your counties and discuss this with all law enforcement in your county. I say make preemptive strikes, not violence, but with your wits. And talk with, when I was sheriff, we had monthly meetings with all other law enforcement agencies, every month, so that we could discuss these things. And we could talk about Chief Chief Bucala. And we could get together so that we're all on the same page, and it's called the Constitution page, so that we're all enforcing that. And they go back to their city councils, and maybe they'll get through. Maybe they won't. But you don't change what you're doing with the Constitution. Maybe they'll come on board. Maybe we'll get enough people and churches and pastors backing us up. And when the city councils hear from them, and we're united in this, do you see the power and strength we're talking about? We are the masters of these courts and legislatures. We are. And it is our duty to stop those who would pervert it. This has been a powerful day that we've spent together. Let's take it to the Hessians. Let's take it to them. There's so many traitors out in our midst, and we've got to make them irrelevant. We mean them no harm, but we mean them to leave us alone and hopefully make them irrelevant. We've seen that there's no solution in Washington, D.C. It's not going to happen there. Where it's going to happen is in the countryside of America, county by county, one sheriff at a time. Does that demean chiefs of police at all? Oh, heavens no. We so are grateful that the chiefs were here, that are in the room today. We need you. We want you. That's why it's called the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. We want all peace officers in this country to be doing this. And we've said, I've told people, you're not going to get all the sheriffs. So when you're trying to go to Austin and talk to the sheriff there, you're not going to get very far, are you? Unless we get this man, good man, elected there. Dallas, Los Angeles, San Francisco. Although I was pleasantly surprised by the Sacramento sheriff, Scott Jones. He told the governor he wasn't going to enforce his mandates and the shutdown and the masks. And the sheriff in Ohio, Butler County, I can't remember the sheriff's name, he was on our list there. He said he's not the mask police. He's not going to be the mask police. But we don't allow anybody else to be the mask police in our counties either. So we need to be talking to the health department, and we need to be talking to all public officials and let them know we are not going to violate the Constitution for any reason. And we're going to be doing this unitedly, and we're going to restore America county by county, one sheriff, one chief, and one united people, and our churches working with us to do that. We will actually do this. We will interpose, as Brother Perutka was teaching us today. We will interpose and put ourselves in the way so that the men and women who pervert the Constitution will have no more effect, and it will not happen, and we will change America. It's our duty to try to change. We can do it. I have felt this today. You have made me feel this. God has made me feel this today. We're so grateful that we have felt that together. What a tremendous feeling it was just being around you today. I didn't feel a bump in the arm today, but I felt just as powerful. Some of you took the place of that, I guess. This was a very solid group today. I'm grateful to be associated with you. We can do this. My Supreme Court case, I've heard sheriffs say numerous times, I'll do whatever the Supreme Court tells me to do. We don't work for the judicial branch, you know that, right? I'll do whatever the legislature tells me. You know we don't work for the legislative branch. We're the executive branch, checks and balances. But then how about those sheriffs that said they'll enforce the Supreme Court decisions? How about the only time sheriffs sued the federal government and won? Those of you who have the, well, I don't have one. That's really good. Copy of my Supreme Court decision. We're going to end with this. Thank you. I thought I put one in my, oh yeah, I put it in the packets last night, the one I had in my pocket. Everybody turn to page 13. And this is what we're going to close with today. How about the sheriffs of this country enforcing the only decision that was ever made by sheriffs in the history of America? This is the only time sheriffs sued the federal government and won a landmark case. Page 13, the Constitution protects us. Follow along as I read that. But I have it memorized. I don't need this. What do I need that for? Thank you anyway. Ready? But the Constitution protects us from our own best intentions. COVID-19, dictator governors. It divides power among sovereigns and among branches of government precisely so that we may resist the temptation to concentrate power in one location as an expedient solution to the crisis of the day. Wow. Was Scalia talking to us today or what? How does that apply to what's going on in our country today? And just as, who said it? The Constitution is words. It's not going to jump out and enforce itself, is it? But those of us who are required to promise to uphold, defend, protect, and preserve, it's up to us to do just that. But the Constitution protects us from our own best intentions. May God bless you as you do that and enforce this principle, this eternal principle of how we serve and protect. Thank you so much.